Hello. Welcome. My name is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks. And I'm very excited about our show tonight. I'm really looking forward to talking with you. And I am also looking forward to bringing my guests on in a bit. As you know, this is Lighting the Way with Beth Green and Friends. And the friends will be coming on pretty soon. So, the topic tonight is spirituality, activism, and the current moment, something we all can do. And this topic is really important to me. And I hope that you see the relevance for yourself. First of all, I want to share something. Many of you don't know that I'm a spiritual teacher. You know me from Lighting the Way. You know me from being a musician on our magical improvs, and I do uh, channel music. I'm an intuitive, and I have been since 1980. And I'm also the spiritual director of a nonprofit organization called The Stream Inc., to make it official because we're incorporated. And it has been a very interesting and challenging time for me, and I think for a lot of you as well, because on the one hand, I have this spirituality. I like to meditate, go deep, go high, feel the energy, and all of that good stuff. And then I'm really angry about what's going on in our nation, and I'm going to call it out. And some people will say, but that's not spiritual, Beth. You're not being spiritual. You have to be positive all the time, or you have to be peaceful all the time. All of these have to be's, which I don't believe is true. That's not what spirituality is to me. But I really want to delineate now why spirituality and activism are really the same thing. And I want to introduce you to my organization, The Stream. In fact, all of our friends who are on the show are members of The Stream. And I want you to invite you to join us if you want to. No pressure. But I actually want to speak to what may be an inner conflict for many of us who have come in from a spiritual orientation. The Stream believes in spiritual principles, and I've boiled it down to four. I have a book called Living with Reality, and it shows there's 9 platforms for transformation of consciousness, which of course is what so much of spirituality is all about. But I've boiled it down to just 3, if we have to reduce it from 9, which is oneness, accountability, and mutual support. And oneness is the essence of all spirituality. It's like we are all one. We are one in spirit. We are one in the oneness, in God, in whatever you want to call that. And we can't hurt anybody without hurting ourselves because we are one. And that's a very important spiritual principle. Now, let's take a look at some very simple example. Let's say the current government is trying to throw thousands and thousands of people off of Medicare. And you can say, well, I don't care about that. That's not me. Well, maybe it is you, actually, but maybe it isn't you. So that's just them, whoever them is. And that's not coming from a place of oneness. But you see, oneness is very practical. Oneness says if you've got sick people, they can't work. A lot of people who are on Medicaid have jobs. And if they don't have health care, they can't work. Or they may become much more disabled, or they're going to be buried by medical bills, or they're going to be contagious, or those kinds of things. So that is an example of what I mean by oneness, which is if those people are hurting, it's going to impact you. It's the same thing with climate change. It's very obvious that climate change doesn't just impact me or you or this town or that. It's the whole world is being desperately impacted by climate change. And and it's impacting everybody. There's no place to hide anymore. Maybe you were in a wealthy town on the coast. Well, the coast is rising, the beach is disappearing, you see? So that is a spiritual principle in practice. You can see the reality of it. So, why I call this program Spirituality, Activism, and the Current Moment is that we can't just sit and meditate right now because there is an attack on oneness. There is an attack on accountability. People are not being held accountable. It's all political brouhaha. You know, uh, yeah, like the people who stormed January 6th and beat up people and broke into into the Congress and attacked people and so on. And people were killed. And people are not being held accountable. But an accountability is not just about, oh, yes, you were a bad boy. Accountability is really about how we are regulating the flow of our energy. Okay, if I find myself getting really angry and then I start to get vicious and all of that, I'm not being accountable. I have to look at my anger, understand where it's coming from, not blame myself for it. Because I learned from the universe that when I'm angry, that means something is wrong. And take a look at why I'm angry, but not live there. Try to move into something different. And the last of those three principles that are so important is mutual support. That means that our job is that we've come here to help one another, not me, 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 me. And if you're looking at this, take a little distant view of it, you'll see this is all about the ego. The ego says it's about me, it's about mine, it's I this, I that, my that, or my family, or my town, or my team, or something. It's all about separation. So there is always a giant struggle going on this planet between spirituality and oneness and connection and ego, which is all about separation. I'm better, I'm worse, I'm different, I'm whatever. So if we look at the world that we're in today, we can see that there are a lot of people who have just completely forgotten about oneness. There was a time in our nation where people really, really related to each other and depended on each other. It's like if you lived in an apartment building, you had to use if there was a laundry in it, the laundry was in the apartment building, and everybody came together and did their laundry. And then we started having separate houses and more nuclear family. People weren't helping each other as much. Believe me, in the old days, people had to help each other a lot because they didn't have any money. Now we have our own washing machines. And, we can take care of ourselves, but it's all nonsense because nobody takes care of themselves. Everybody is dependent on others. We're dependent on people who grow our food, like all those undocumented workers, the people who are working in our factories, people who are making our clothes, people who are cleaning the streets. Nobody's independent. So the recognition of that. So what we're seeing now is a greater and more powerful attack on spiritual principles. There's an attack against oneness. We are being divided. It's part of the political game, divide and rule. So we're being divided by race, by gender, by language, by status, etc. Certainly by wealth. And we're being, our spirituality is under attack because people are no longer accountable. It's all about, well, it's getting me what I want, and that's all I care about. And you may suffer, but who cares, right? And it's definitely not about mutual support, is it? So, what I'm trying to get across is that as a spiritual person, as a spiritual being, as a spiritual teacher, I am compelled to speak about the political situation that we're in. And not only that, but I'm compelled to speak about the economic environment that has given rise to this moment. See, our economy is capitalist, and capitalism is based on ego. It's about me, my profit, what I'm going to get out of this, and exploiting you as much as possible in order to get the most money. And now we see it's getting totally outrageous, totally out of kilter, because now we have a greater and greater and greater division of wealth. I mean, it's unbelievable how much wealth has risen to the top, whereas the rest of us are being left behind. So now that exploitation is not based on oneness, is it? It's not like, oh, yes, I really want my workers to thrive. Every once in a while, somebody realizes. I think Henry Ford did this. He said, if I don't have workers who get paid, they can't buy the cars, and that's another one of those realities that we have to deal with. If people don't have paychecks, it's like what's happening now. Just fire tens of thousands of people, make no plan for them. So if they lose their job, now they're talking about actually gutting Social Security, and for us old timers, that's kind of a big deal, and so on. So you see that our economic system is not based on mutual support. It's all based on competition and exploitation. So here we are. I am the spiritual director of a nonprofit corporation called The Stream. And we started as a spiritual organization working on an inner revolution. I call it the inner revolution, where we overcome our egoic tendencies and ways of thinking and being. And here we are, lighting the way. And we have put out the new Declaration of Independence, talking about how we are independent from this system of exploitation, from this government that has become incredibly oppressive, is moving further and further away from democracy and further towards autocracy, which doesn't sound like oneness, accountability, and mutual support to me. Does it to you? And we are clear. We have just put out a new website for our organization. It's called thestream.info, INFO. It's in the post. Whether you're on Facebook or you're on YouTube, you can see the post. And it'll have a link to the declaration, the new Declaration of Independence, and it will also have a link to thestream.info. That is our website. And if you want to get in touch, by all means, write to Beth at thestream.info. So I want to tell you about this because I think a lot of people are struggling with this. And I think you need to have a different perspective that spirituality, if it is not in action, doesn't exist. It's not an idea. It's not about sitting there and meditating and having a wonderful experience of, like, instead of taking drugs, you meditate. That is, to me, is not what spirituality is about. And when you look at the life of Jesus, if he really existed, I don't think that dude was about that either. I think he was exactly a spiritual activist, and so am I. So I'm doing this show because I want to help everybody who has that inner conflict to get some kind of resolution for themselves. And I'm also inviting you to join us if you are interested. First, take a look at our new Declaration of Independence, which is in the post, and you can sign it and you can share it and you can mobilize around it, because not only does it say what we're against, but most of it is about what we're for. And the things that we have in that declaration our spirituality in action. They are oneness, accountability, and mutual support. I mean, if you just look at the bottom line, what is Medicare for all? You know, universal health care is about taking care of people, seeing that we're all one, that people are one, and that we impact one another, and we are dependent on each other, and we need to support one another, and so on. So please take a look at our declaration, new Declaration of Independence, in that light. And if you're interested in the stream, take a look at our website, thestream.info. We do a lot of things here. Not only do we have these live streams, but we have groups, and we can have discussions, and we do music, and I do counseling, intuitively guided counseling. And I'd love you to take a look and see if there's any way that you want to join us. And now I'm going to bring on my guests so they can talk about this topic, and maybe they've had the same kind of inner conflict, and maybe this is helping them. So our first Kara, oh, by the way, if you write a comment on my Facebook page, the public page, or on YouTube, I will see it. But if you are on my private page, I will not see your comment. So until after the show when I go look. Okay, so first of all, we have Amy Tanner. Yes, he's out there with a full name today. And here we have Lizzie Treehart. And here is James Maynard. And here is Todd Benton. And all these wonderful people who you've been getting to know over the last few weeks are also in the stream. So, welcome to my guests, and I'd love to hear what you would like to share based on this talk about spirituality, activism, which are the same, and the current moment. Okay, so Amy, you have your hand up. Let's go.
Well, I love that that spirituality is not about zoning, not about zoning out, but not about separating, going somewhere else and then coming back. Although that's useful if it gives you energy, clarity, and other things. But what the purpose is action, and the spirituality, the tenets that you mentioned, oneness, mutual support, and accountability. Thank you. All of a sudden, I went blank.
We all get blank.
Our actions, and I love the fact that you mentioned that when you get angry, that you don't fault yourself for that. That's an indication that something's wrong. But then you look for what's wrong and see what there is to do, rather than just reacting, which I do plenty of, and then realize that that's unfortunately doesn't get anywhere. But it's so easy, especially these days, all over Facebook. It's just one reaction after another. You know, the outrage, the upset, everything. And I look at it and say, okay, but now what? And so that's what I appreciate about your new Declaration of Independence. It's about now what?
Yes.
Oh, our new Declaration of Independence. Sorry.
Right. You're stuck.
Oneness.
You're in the stream. And by the way, I threw this, blindsided my guests, because I've been working on the website along with Todd, who actually is a web designer and has done a beautiful job on our new website. I was grappling with this very thing, because it started as the new Declaration of Independence. People might want to know more. They click on it, so we go to a landing page. Okay, and it was all about the Declaration. And then we said, well, we really should say it's sponsored by the Stream. Oh, okay, so it's the Stream. Well, now it's our nonprofit organization. Oh, but we're a spiritual organization. Well, yeah, we're a spiritual organization. Should we be doing this? You see what I mean? And so I was grappling. I must have rewritten this thing 100 times. Because I kept getting pulled this way and pulled that way and pulled the other way. And finally, I feel like it came together. It's like, yes, I know that this is what it is. It's oneness, accountability, and mutual support in action. And that's what we are trying to do. So thank you for that, Amy. Yay. So people were a little bit blindsided. We sent them the latest version of the
Oh, I thought it was great, and I didn't know that the picture, when you folks check it out, that picture existed, which has everybody
Isn't
who's
that
in the stream,
wonderful?
which is a wonderful picture.
Yes, it's
It's
wonderful.
fantastic.
So if you saw, I mean, if you saw the website late this afternoon, you know that's the final website because he had done an earlier one, and that was before I had
Yes.
the revelation of how to put it all together. So check it out. No, thank you, Amy.
No, it's great. I already sent the link to, a friend,
Yay! I love
the
it.
link to the website.
I love it.
Besides the besides the Declaration of Independence, also the website
Thank
itself,
you. Thank you.
because it's also includes everything else that you do. So it's a one-stop shop.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. I think I saw James' hand.
Yes, I'd like to echo what Amy was saying. I find it very hard not to go into reactivity and polarization. Now, I'm a former attorney, and of course, there was a premium on duking it out verbally with the other side and to be polarized. But I'm reminded of the example of Gandhi. Gandhi was an attorney also, and his clients would be in court with him, and they'd notice that Gandhi was uh, advocating for the higher good of all. And I noticed that when I was doing law, when there were times when I would look for the highest good and find a meeting ground between the parties, I felt better about it all. And and you look at Gandhi as a spiritual person, but look what he did with the peaceful resistance against the British Empire's um, injustices toward the people. So he showed it's possible to be spiritual, to be calm, to be firm, without getting reactive, without getting all angry and fearful and all that stuff, but just be firm. Notice what's unjust, notice what's out of balance, and speak to it. And that's what you're talking about. Stay in the oneness, advocate for the oneness, but don't back away from resisting injustices.
Thank you. I think that's a great example. We are fighting for oneness. We are fighting for accountability. We are fighting for mutual support. And if you look at our declaration, you'll see specifically the kind of world that we are fighting for. So, yes, Gandhi is a great example, and most of us can't reach that level. So, I mean, let's face the facts, right? Most of us are more reactive than that, but you know, you don't get people like him very frequently,
Well,
but
but then
we can do the best we can.
Well, then we had the civil rights movement and the
That's right.
passive resistance, peaceful resistance, and there were a lot of people, everyday average people, who summoned up enough courage to go forward in advocating and demonstrating for equal justice.
I agree with you completely. We can do this kind of thing, and it doesn't mean you can't be upset. I personally did not watch The State of the Onion last night.
Oh god.
It's like, no, it would make me cry. It's like onions make you cry. So I can't stomach watching it, but I don't think I need to. I need to have a sense of what's going on, and I need to help us to mobilize around something that we can fight for, because a lot of people feel better when they're fighting for something. Otherwise, it's very easy to get downtrodden and depressed and like, look what the Indians went through, as you were talking about, and look at what our civil rights people, a lot of people doing a lot of um, nonviolent resistance. But nonviolence doesn't mean passive. It's not passive at all. So thank you for that. Yes, who would like to share next? By the way, Todd had to get on and off because he was having computer problems, but he's back. Yes, Lizzie.
um, I'm not aware of having any conflict about spirituality and activism, but I haven't really thought about it.
Hmm.
Um, I just feel in myself much more relaxed about, I mean, not that I agree with anything that our government is doing, but with these viewpoints, I feel less fearful. I feel that these steps are something, like you said, when you can do something, then you feel better. Um, And to look at oneness, accountability, mutual support, it's like that is so missing in our government right now.
Yeah.
And not that, to me, there's a difference between religion and spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
Religion is you got to follow, set rules and regulations. And I've been in, I grew up certain religions and that doesn't fit me. And so having a much broader perspective is very helpful. And I think this is what that's doing. I kind of lost my thought there. It just feels like, wow, what is happening and the leaders in our government right now, they're so lacking. And instead of me getting fearful or getting angry and upset, it's like they need to stop. It's like, where are their souls?
Yes.
Why are they, people, not just our government, but people that, capitalism, just so disconnected from how we impact others. And, I'm sure there's lots of other examples, but it's like, where is we're all born with body, mind, spirit, soul, whatever. And you look at children, they're not like that when they interact with each other. And it's like, so this is such an innate thing for everybody, every human, but yet it's gotten lost in many of us. And it's like, oh, this is a commonality that everybody is connected to. And it feels like, oh, so I don't have to be pissed off at these actions that are happening. I can be like, wow, well, I still pray to, like a wish list. If you want to say a wish list and praying, so it's like, I don't want to disconnect from people that are so disconnected that they're all about me, because that's not helping.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
So I just find this so supportive and encouraging, and I've been talking about it with people, and some are like, yeah, and some are like, I'm going to just stay in my own little world. And it's like, well, that's how you deal with it, but it's still good to know what's going on, and there are things we can do. And
Yeah, I love it. I love it, Lizzie. And I would like to point out, before somebody points it out to us, yes, capitalism and exploitation and the horrors came way before the Trump administration.
right.
It's just that it has now reached a fevered pitch so that it is so blatantly obvious that it's a country of the billionaires, by the billionaires, and for the billionaires.
Oh,
And that's the way it is now, and even more obvious than it used to be. So this allows people to have an awakening. And I would like to feel that that is also a spiritual awakening of realizing that something's really wrong with the way we are raised, that we are raised to be so ego based, to be competitive instead of being supportive. I mean, that's what we're raised to be. We're taught to be that. And you go to school and the first thing is, you're taking tests and we're all being judged against each other. And then there's the prizes. And then you do little league and somebody wins and somebody loses, and football and, bash your opponent. And, this is the way we're raised to be. A piano competition. It's not just, it's sports. Everything is competition, competition, competition. And then when we get into work situations, we're still doing it. We're competing with each other. We're trying to get ahead. We want to be, we have this whole hierarchical structure. And that is not oneness. It is possible to organize society in a way that people do what they're good at. That is not a hierarchy. That's a cooperative. That's when we bring together all of our gifts. We here at the stream like to call it the potluck revolution, where you bring what you've got and you take what you need. And that's the kind of society that we're trying to develop. And so I love everything that you said, Lizzie. Thank you so much for carrying light. And I do get a little bit exasperated by people at times, but I have to get over myself because it's like, well, what happened to people that we became like this, all of us. So thank you. What about you, Todd?
Yes. Well, I'll talk about an aspect that doesn't seem like others have talked about,
Great.
which is, for me, spirituality connects me to like my inner compass and what is right to do.
Mhm.
Obviously the check-in process, and that's something that we learned from you, checking in about what's for the highest good of all, which is definitely in the oneness principle. And it helps me when I do want to hold people accountable, people in the government and my family members, because when I'm self-righteous and I'm in my ego about, confronting someone or challenging someone that they did or didn't do something, when I'm coming from that place of separation, then it's all just self-righteousness. It's not constructive, and it's a put down,
Yeah,
right?
and
But
it's,
if
so
I'm
it's
come
ego. It's
right,
the
it's
ego.
ego.
Yeah.
Right. But if I'm coming from that place of holding them accountable from the oneness, then I have a different approach into how I talk to them about it, and it can be constructive. They might not like it, but it's constructive. It's looking out for their well-being as well as my own. It's that being in that place of connection and understanding that, it's a challenge being a human, because we are raised in this competitive society, and it's kind of like giving people the benefit of the doubt, but not letting them off the hook, holding
Mhm.
them accountable. So that to me is like an active spirituality. And that's, I'm writing to my Congress people saying, I don't, this is not right. I wrote to my state senator, he was putting down our governor, and, it's like, what I want you to do, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm a no party preference. I want you to work together to solve the issue, not bash the other person. So those are the ways in which that spirituality is playing out in my life.
Beautiful. Oh, yes, I'm so glad that you brought that out. Spirituality. We do everything we do, we try, every decision we make, we try to ask what is for the highest good of all, including me. And, if that is not the way we approach society. We don't say, oh, would this bill be for the highest good of all, including me? It's everything is about your advantage, my advantage, power. Everything is about power. You know, something that you were just talking about reminds me of something we've talked about before, but it is so stressful to live in this society. And not only in this society, it is so incredibly stressful. There is no social safety net, and now there's even less and less. Any sense of safety is being ripped away from people. Anybody can lose a job at any time, and now Trump is saying that he's going to give a pass to the auto industry for the next month on tariffs. Right?
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
I
it's like,
heard
oh,
that.
he's whose friend? What did he?
So now he's the good guy because now they will like
Right,
him. He took them from the brink of
right.
disaster. It's like, oh, what a nasty manipulative way
I
to
agree with
do
you
that,
because it's not.
to
It's
gain their
not
favor.
being considering the whole. I mean, if it's bad for the auto industry, it's bad for everybody. And so
Right.
these basic spiritual principles are the way to be. And so as we're coming to a close tonight, I really invite you to look at the post and go check out, because there's a link, check out our website, thestream.info, and to check out the new Declaration of Independence and continue all the brave fighting that we're all doing on so many levels. We're signing a lot of petitions, we're demonstrating, we're pressuring our Congress people, we are speaking the truth. And I'm with you, Lizzie. I am not afraid. I am afraid for our country. I am not afraid for myself because this is why we're here at this moment of time, is to take these steps to help everyone and bring our spirituality into action. So would you kindly give us a thumbs up on YouTube, And subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell so you'll be notified when we're live and when we're out there. And follow us on Facebook, on the Facebook page, and give us a love or a like, preferably a love. And sign our new Declaration of Independence and share it with other people. It's just getting started. And, helping people, it's not necessarily that it's going to impact somebody out there in terms of, oh, Governor so and so. But what it does is it impacts us because we feel, yes, this is what I believe in and this is what I'm fighting for. And I'm not just caught up in a never ending cauldron of upset, fear, and anger. So let's mobilize around what we want and help to co create that society. So please come back next Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, if you want to join us live. And leave your comments later and share this program with other people. And come back next week. So there we go. And our music to end with.